All right. Hello, hello. It is Tuesday, and we are back with Couch Conversations. Hope you missed us. And if you didn't, we're still back. So, today, oh, it has already been a day. I am here with my friends, my soul fire sibling. I know the formal title is Ariella, but you're still Ari to me. So, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, Guerilla Gardener extraordinaire, the Honduran Healer, Decolonizer. Do we want to call you a corn maybe? I don't know. We'll get there. We'll get there. But I want to
Awesome.
welcome you to Couch Conversations. This is your platform. Share your knowledge. I love what you're doing. I love what you're about. For my people, I am in my car. I am in LA. LA traffic sucks ass. So I had to pull off of the side of the highway. And we're doing our couch conversations, not on a couch, but in a car for today. So bear with us. If technicals get fucked up, they get fucked up and we rocking with it. But since we're talking to the Gorilla Gardener who knows how to make shit happen when shit look like it shouldn't happen, I feel like
Listen.
it's all appropriate. So Ari, hello. And where do you want us to begin with your story?
Um, well, it all started on a snowy day in 1996. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, no, well, first of all, I'm so happy to virtually see you because I haven't seen you since the Soul Fire, like face to face.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can just start with, I guess, the garden itself. I mean, it's just our little humble attempt at food sovereignty, at creating a space for folks to re-engage with the land, to learn to steward the land, to pass down that ancestral knowledge, and like just have a safe space in the community. Um, I live in New York City, and like the parks department, like to get an actual like to set up a community garden through the parks department and like through Grow NYC and all that other stuff. Also, sorry, my dog, you'll probably hear him in the background. It's just like a very gatekeepy, lengthy process. They're also a lot more interested in steering you towards like existing community gardens, which is like cool, but like why can't there be more? Um, so that doesn't really make any sense to me. They're real like just they're just weird about it. So I don't know. It was like I was like learning about guerrilla gardening like a few years back, and I was kind of like, all right, like this seems like my wave because that was actually how like for folks listening, me and Sheena really connected. I feel like was that night when we kind of started talking about it and realized
Mm-hmm.
we're on the same wave of like building outside of this, like
Mm-hmm.
let's just do it ourselves. Like we can ask for permission all day long, but like, you know, I don't know, like, and there's a role for that, and not to like shade people who engage in the system and who organize around that. That's not my lane. That's not my role. I would like to build outside of this, especially considering climate catastrophe, everything that's happening, like what's next? I'm gonna start, you know, building that. So learning about guerrilla gardening and found an empty lot. It was empty for years. People would just like kind of throw trash in it. And it was open. So we were like, I mean, like, why not? And so we just like started cleaning it up. Like a couple comrades, we got together, started cleaning it up. The first year was just very much like, fuck it, let's just see what grows. Like we're just kind of throwing seeds in the ground. We'll just grow this, grow that, see what happens. And pretty much everything that we planted grew. Which we were like, what? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like it was. We almost had like no. I don't think anything that we planted like died that year. Like I'm pretty sure everything grew and like we had harvests. Like it was really like magical in that way. And then this is our second year, and this year I feel like we're a little bit more legit. Like this year we got our beds. We like did all our soil testing, adding our amendments and like, you know, everything. We had like plots. This is growing here, that's growing there. So that's kind of how we like really got started. Like it was just kind of like just fuck it, let's see. And it like really blossomed into like this really beautiful community that I'm just like so happy. It makes me so proud. Like
I love all of that. First of all, fuck it, let's go is my mantra for life.
Like,
So fuck
like
it, like let's go, whatever. And I love the idea, and it's definitely more than an idea, but not having to ask for permission. Because as people of color, as you know, the people of the global majority, hello, we've been fed this story that we have to do what we're allowed to do, and we have to work within these preconceived systems in order to get what we want. And I'm calling bullshit on that, and obviously you also call bullshit on that, because if you always have to work within the parameters, how are you really going to get anything accomplished? Like, really.
yeah,
So I applaud you guys for taking the initiative, especially in New York, especially in Brooklyn, with everything that's going on there,
yeah.
to just say, fuck it, we're going to do what we see the community needs. And the fact you got shit growing the first go around is amazing, because half
We
of
had
us
corn.
feel like,
I was like, I planted some corn seeds and I was like, again, like, fuck it. Like, nothing, we went into this, like, nothing's gonna grow. Like, we're just gonna see what we can grow. Cause it was like a former parking lot. So it was like just kind of gravelly. Um, and so there was like a lot of chunks of rocks. Like, there was like mugwort that had kind of taken over, that had kind of done a good job of like already breaking up a lot of that soil. So there really was not much there. We found like maybe one earthworm, like while we were like digging to plant stuff. And like that was pretty much it. And we got corn, like we got like ears of corn, and I saved those seeds, and those seeds grew the corn that we grew this year. Like, I literally, like, one of my friends, like, I was talking to her like a few months back about the garden, and she was literally like, the land was waiting for you guys, like, literally, like, yeah. So and like I'm on the same wave of like, we just need to kind of just like do it. And that's not to say that people haven't tried to do it before. Obviously, we want to pay respect to the, like, we are standing on plenty of people's shoulders, the work that they've done, but like also just like showing the community like you can do it. Like, why not? And like people always pass by and they're like, oh my god, like you guys just like clean this up, like, because everybody knew it was like oh my god, there was like trash here and everything. You guys just like came and just like y'all cleaned it up and like y'all growing stuff, and we're like, yeah, like, how'd you do it? Like, we just did it. Like, did the landlord know? I was like, I'm always like, you gonna tell the landlord? And they're like, no. I'm like,
I won't
so
tell if you won't tell.
you want to take a tomato? Like, you know? So like, that's kind of like how we've been operating. And it's just like really beautiful too, because it's like so many people who are like, not like, I don't know, a critique I have of like activists, organizer, those kind of spaces is like, it always tends to be the same people. Like you'll have people who are organizers who like do stuff in the community, and like those are kind of like the only, those, they always come out, you know what I mean? Like they just know each other. We always come out to support each other's stuff. Not to say that that's bad, but like I'm very much trying to figure out like how we can bring people in who wouldn't normally be engaged in this type of work, who wouldn't normally be doing something like this, you know what I mean? Like how do we bring people in? And it's been like cool, like, you know, so far we've been able to like get some folks like, you know, from the blog just passing by, come do, I really love how Soulfire puts it, like hands on the land, you know, like just come in like to do work with us. So like it's just been really really cool. Like I feel like it's just gotten like bigger than any one person. It's like bigger than any of us, and it really is like this little space where people come by, check on it. I've been meaning to catch you, like, so
Do you feel, even in the short time that you've been farming in that location, because I'm not even going to say gardening, I feel like gardening downplays the work and what is actually coming out of this. The time that you've been farming in that space, do you already see how it's helping build the community around? Because a lot of what we're missing, I feel, is we're losing the community aspect, what true community is. You know, that really, I bring what I have, you bring what you have, and we build this thing together that benefits everybody. So from what I'm hearing, in just a short time that you've been there, you've already started to flick the switch, which
yeah.
is so important. Um, are you a space where other people, like similar to a community garden, where other people can come and grow, or is just you guys decide what's grown and other people harvest? Like, how does your system actually work?
It's very much like we like the first year I definitely was like the one that was kind of planning what we were going to grow because this was like our first, you know. This year it was definitely like, well, what do folks want to grow? Like in our collective I was kind of like running the list by everybody. Is there anything that anybody else would like to grow? And then for the next season, because like I said, this year we're definitely like a lot more like legit in the sense that we have beds. Like you could tell it's a garden. Last year
Right.
it was you want to talk about guerrilla gardening. it was it was really like we were really, you know, we would carry like buckets of water like from my place to the garden like a few blocks away because we didn't have a hose. And then the guy at the corner store one day was like, bro, like what the fuck are you doing, like take our hose, like so like literally like guerrilla garden. So now it looks a little bit more official. We got a sign, so like folks are passing by and some people are talking about, oh, I have these seeds, can I plant them next year? So it's like
That's so beautiful.
I don't want us to do like plots, like, you know, like people are like, oh, how much for a plot? Like we're definitely not trying to monetize any aspect of this, and I feel very strongly about that. Where I absolutely refuse. Like it's all of us just kind of paying into it. We do fundraisers and things like that, but I will not like do any type of like monetizing of this. But people were like, bring stuff. If you have seeds, like plant it. Like we'll definitely like next year, like we could plant it here. I really love how there's like elders coming around.
Yes.
Like, cause that's so big. We have this elder. I have to shout out Leon. He don't have no social media, so he's never gonna see this. But I want everybody else to know how amazing Leon is. He literally found us like when we first started last year. He was like, he noticed like we were like cleaning everything up and everything. He came over. He was like, "You guys planting stuff? Like you got a garden going here?" We're like, "Yeah." Came over and like he's like, I just love when you meet elders and like you know they've lived, and Leon has lived. But and part of his life he was a farmer in Trinidad, and so he has been like huge in like helping us like figure stuff out. Like literally we joked that like our tomato harvest was so good because Leon planted those plants. Like he was like, no, because I was trying to do one thing and he was like, no, and like put it in there, like did this, that. Was like, I was like, okay. And they ended up like beautiful, these big tomatoes. Like so there we've had like him come around, and he's always bringing other people into the fold too because he knows everybody on the block. And then we recently had another elder pass by. She was saying that next year she wants to plant Scotch bonnets. Like she wants to bring like, yeah, like, so she like, I was like, listen, bring it. Like she was passing down some ancestral knowledge on okra. Like, how do you know if it's ripe? Like, you know, or like ready for harvest. And like, I was like, oh, I just like love this. Like brought her granddaughter. The granddaughter's like walking through the plots, like looking at everything. Even my coworker brought his son who's young. He's, I believe, 7 years old, and he planted the watermelon. He planted some of the corn and helped us, and like came back recently to like see how much everything grew. And we were like, you planted this, Rafi? And he was like, that's crazy. Like, so I love the intergenerational aspect that we have going on as well. Like definitely like really pushing for it too, you know, like it has to be intentional. It has to be intentional. Like you can't just say, you know, oh, we're an LGBT friendly space, or we're, you know, intergenerational space, or like we're this, and like you have to like really curate that and like make that known and like do that to have people welcome. So when we do events, it's very focused on families, very focused on kids. You know, and of course single people can come, you know, I feel like we all benefit if families are taken care of.
Right. I think, okay, this is me being personal. But what you do speaks so heavily to my heart, like straight arrow, like straight shot. So I know I've told you this before, but I'm so proud of you. Like sincerely proud of you. And I love that so much of what you're doing is culturally relevant. It's not just, hey, we got some vegetables over here. Like it's meaningful, and it really is. It sounds like anchoring your little, you know, your little plot of heaven over there is really starting to anchor your community, and for it to come up spontaneously, you know, and to be able to do that and provide that, that's really what we're about, what the People's Pride Project is about, what I'm hoping that those that see this, those that hear this, that's what this is really about. This is a shift in consciousness at this point in time. This is a shift. You have to remember to move forward at this point. And I think we've forgotten how to remember.
Mm.
I think, I mean, this seems like novel concepts to us now, but 2 generations ago, this was the norm. I mean, the grocery store was the new thing.
Yeah.
Now we're like, you mean I can grow my own pepper from something I ate? Yes, bitch, you can. Like, why why have we forgotten this innate connection to the land and connection to each other? So I feel that what you're doing is so extraordinarily important. And to be youth generated, to be accepting, to be, because we all need these come as you are spaces in whatever form that is. And food is something that naturally brings people together. So to be able to have all of these layers happening, I think is a beautiful, beautiful and necessary thing. Now, we're gonna shift just a little bit. Just a little bit. We were having a conversation about taking back what belongs to us and ways to covertly or not so covertly go about doing such things. So I'm gonna drop that on your side of the screen and see what you want to do with it.
Um, I mean, my preferred terminology is liberate. So
Yes.
we liberated this lot,
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor. Um, um, so I just feel like, not that I'm convincing anybody to like do anything that's illegal or wrong, but like, when you talk
Never.
about like guerrilla gardening, like there really is, it's like you want to call it civil disobedience, you want to call it like,
Mm-hmm.
breaking the law, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's, why are these laws even existing? And I just want to go back to what you said about like how quickly we forget, and the way that capitalism really almost like makes itself seem so permanent, makes itself seem so
Yes.
like a fixture. Like, this is human nature. You really talk to people and they'll be like, oh, humans are greedy, humans are selfish. And I'm like, who? Like, when? Like, we literally evolved as a species because we could cooperate. Like, it just, so you're gonna take like 250, 300 years of history and act like that's human nature. Like, that's just really like a whole other thing to me. So when we do things like this, it's just really like, who said I can't grow some flowers in the garden or in the park by my house? Like, who said the city owns this little speck of dirt in front of my house where they planted a tree that's already dying? Like, like, who said? And like, we're kind of challenging that. And like, that was
Mm-hmm.
like a big thing for me as well, was like, whatever comes of this is like, I'm not interested in being like the vanguard of the guerrilla garden movement in New York City. I don't need that. It's very much like, if other people want to do that, let me hook you up. You know what I mean? Like, how, like, this is how we did it. This is what we did. Like, this is where we got the funds. Do you need us to boost you? Like, I don't need to run 80 million community gardens, like guerrilla gardens. Like, like, it's possible. If you want to do it, do it. Like, hit me up,
Right.
like, listen, I'll give the advice. Like, I've had comrades from like Florida like hit me up and like be like, oh, hey, I'm like in New York right now. Can I pass by the garden and like see what you guys are doing? Because we want to try something in Florida. Hell yeah, like, come, like, learn. Like, even the way that we run the garden, like, we have a lockbox with the code, and like pretty much everybody in the collective has the code. Like, if you want to pull up to the garden, you can pull up to the garden. Like, there literally like is no gatekeeping in this, and I feel like that is part of like that challenging of like, no, like, who said we have to, like, monetize this? Who said we have to do this the right way? What is the right way? And why is the
Right.
right way? There's land, like, there's actually, I've seen like a lot of graffiti in New York lately where it's like, it'll just be like different things, and I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I've seen a few places on like empty lots where somebody will put like, imagine a garden here, like, imagine a world of abundance, like, just all these different things. And I'm like, there's so much more to this. And like,
Mm-hmm.
this narrative of like, again, like, capitalism just being a permanent fixture of the world, and there was nothing before and there will be nothing after. Like, in the smallest ways, like, we can
Mm-hmm.
challenge it, like, I always say, this little garden is not going to save the world. we are not going to, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to liberate the world with our little, plot, but it's planting a seed. This is our contribution to a movement that is larger than any one person, that is longer than any one person's lifespan. You know what I mean? This is like, we're having the baton passed to us, and what can we do right here? Like in our little few blocks, because it's very much like, even in terms of like the movement and stuff, and not to get like too much on like critiques, but it's just like, folks, we get very up here. I feel like we get very up here. We get very, this is all theoretical. We talk about it on a certain level. It's very like, let's argue all day about XYZ. But like, I go to your blog and like, does anybody know you?
Right. Yo,
does anybody know you? Like, because you come to my block and, oh yeah, that's the shorty with the always giving me the vegetables. Like, who does the cleanups? Like, people, you know what I mean? Like, does anybody know you? Are you building that solidarity in your community? Like, I'm sorry, like, it's not as glamorous. It's not as popular as, like getting awards and being on this circuit and stuff like that. But it's the work. If you can't build solidarity on your own block, if you can't build community on your own block, like, how do you think that you're fit to like lead anything? How do you think that our movement is going to get anywhere, but it's not as flashy, and, kind of connects back to the whole capitalism. I mean, there's so many layers to this, like connects back to capitalism in the sense of like, people are products, even the movement, even social justice has been commodified to where brands are now, like trying to get organizers to do campaigns on inclusivity and all this and that. And it's like, bro, like, they have sweatshops across the globe. Seriously? Like, you're going to partner with them? Like, for what?
Well, thank you for your sermon. It was necessary. No, because you said it all. And that's my thing too. I see a lot of people with notoriety, a lot of people with checks, a lot of people with, corporations and connections and networks behind them. They look real good on social media. They say the right things, they wear the right clothes, they show up at the right rallies. But then I'm like, okay, so what are you doing? I don't care what you're saying. What are you doing? What are you actually put in your own hands, in your own time? And granted, everybody's not a hands-on person, but what work are you doing?
Right. And that's important. I always say everybody got a role in the revolution. You know what I mean? Like, this is my role. My role is to feed people. My role is to teach people how to feed. You know what I mean? Like, themselves. That's a role. That's not going to save the world. That's not the only role. It's a role. So what are you doing? Some people have funds. Put your money where your mouth is. Why are you not dropping every time you get paid? Why are you not dropping $50, $100 in whatever mutual aid fund that's going on? Why are you not, you do, graphic design? Why are you not for free doing graphic design for orgs that are trying to do this work? Like, and that's not to say you have to quit your day job to do it, but you could do a project here and there. Like, it's in many hands. We need as many hands, like all hands on deck right now. And yeah, like, and it's not to say people aren't doing it, but it's just like, I wish there was more of it, definitely like seems to be a focus on like, up here.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
Making it shiny.
Up here. And that's what I really loved about Soulfire. And I'm so glad that we got to experience it together, because like, I was a little bit like, I've heard of Soulfire, obviously, like, followed them for a minute and like kind of knew what work they were doing. But like, when you get up there, like, I was like, wow, like, this is a type of space that I would love to create. Like, it's so real. It's so real. It's not like everything that they talk about. Like you said, if you're going to talk, like, what are you doing? They're doing it. Like, they're doing it. Like, I know you felt it. Like, when you get up there, like, it's just such an intentional community, like, it's an intentional space. Like, they really have put so much thought and care into every aspect of that, and it was just so refreshing to like go there and see that this is possible, and like to be able to kind of bring that feeling back to this, like, we can build this, like, we can build this, like, there's little pockets of it, there's little glimmers of it, places, like, I don't know, this is very refreshing.
It's necessary. That's the only word that keeps coming to my mind. Like, this is necessary. And it's wild that it's necessary because this used to be the mundane. This used to be the everyday. This was like what was expected. Like, what do you mean you don't know how to put some shit in some dirt? What do you mean you don't know how to feed yourself or your family? What do you mean you don't know your neighbors? Like, these would be thoughts that were asinine. And now we're in this reversal. It's like, you know how to plant something? Like, yes. Why would I not? So yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, I lost my train of thought. My heart and my head are doing like different things right now. So
Right. So
that was
much
going
to it.
somewhere,
I
but
feel
it
like
didn't. But
no, I definitely feel you though. And it's like, you know, reclaiming that knowledge, reclaiming that experience, because it's there, you know, it's there. It's just a matter of like tapping into it, doing that work. And even if you like, bro, like start small. Like 5 years ago, it literally came up in my Snapchat memories the other day. 5 years ago, my gardening was like, I had this little planter that I had on my roof where I was like growing like some purple flowers. Like that was literally how I started. And like 5 years later, we're second season into, you know, like this garden that like is still producing stuff. And I'm like, literally, like when I'm walking home, I'm like, take this. You want a tomato? You need a tomato. I think you need some tomatoes. Like, you want a cucumber? Like, I'm forcing people to take it because there's so much abundance. Like, you just start small, you know, and like respecting the process of it. And like that's one thing I'm very grateful to plants for. Is like, I feel like I was definitely somebody who was very like, gotta go. Like, why is this not happening fast enough? Why is this not like, and then like in this journey of like being called to land and like working with the land and like really having that connection, like to just learn to just like everything happens in its own time. And like things have cycles, you know what I mean? There's a life cycle to it. I'm not productive every season of the year, you know?
I mean, connection to the land is one of the first things that was used to disrupt in order to steal. That was one of the first, links that was broken. So it only makes sense that, like you said, being able to reconnect, you're recognizing how you as a being relates to what's happening in the earth and how it affects you. And it's like, yeah, I kind of move like this too. Okay. And I think that helps rewire the disconnect a little bit. You know what I mean? And that is so, so very important. But one thing that always strikes me, because I'm a creep and I'm on social media looking at people's pictures and stuff, how how intentional you guys are with what you grow. The variety of things that you choose to plant, the specific. I think it was the corn, or there was something else that I saw that had some name that I'd never heard of, but the reason why it was planted, outside of like, this is just, the stereotypical corn seed that you get from the store and just throw it in the ground, like, that is brilliant, number one, because from a seed saving standpoint or a continuation of cultural lineage, that's necessary. Even when you were talking about the elder talking about growing okra and stuff, 9 times out of 10, if you walk in most gardens or home garden, nobody's growing okra. Nobody's growing. We grow basil. It's cool to grow kale. But the things that are culturally relevant are missing. So to create a space where that's available, number one, kudos. Number two, when you grow it, you got to eat it. So now we're reconnecting to our traditions. We're reconnecting to our traditional diets. This is when, the elders that are around, this is where the stories come in. This is where the knowledge gets returned. So I keep saying like the same 5 words. Like, it's necessary, it's important, because it is. Because it is. And I can't think of another word right now. But it is.
Yeah.
So How did you make those decisions and set those intentions to know what you wanted to plant? Especially you started with basically nothing. So it's not like you had all of these exotic options. Isn't it sad that's considered exotic? But that's a whole side conversation. It's not like you had all of these options outside of what was readily available at a big box store or whatever you could get your hands on. So how were you able to come across the varieties that you've chosen to plant?
First of all, thank you. I feel so seen right now because I really did put so much. Like every time I'm like trying to figure out, even down to what variety we're planting. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very intentional about it. Um, so actually, to get a little nerdy, in the garden we have like there's two sections. So we have beds where we're like, for foodstuffs. We have cucumbers, tomatoes, corn, okra, all kinds of things, onions. And then on the other half of the lot, like the garden, I planted a bunch of like native perennials. So we
Mm-hmm.
have like swamp milkweed, we have fall sunflower, purple aster, like hibiscus, like a bunch of different things that are indigenous to the region.
Mm-hmm.
And for a couple reasons, like obviously they sequester carbon very well because their roots continue to grow. So it's a little section for that to kind of regenerate the soil, and also for the native pollinators. Honeybees, like everybody's like, oh, save the honeybees. I'm like, yes, but also they're not native to this continent. So like to have stuff for bumblebees, to have stuff for like
Mm-hmm.
native pollinators, monarchs, like that is really, really important for me as well. So that, like on the flower side of it, we're definitely trying to expand. We were just talking about it the other day when we were at the garden. We kind of want to do it a little bit more justice because again, like, same way we're kind of haphazardly planting stuff the first year. That's what we've been doing with the flowers, and so this year we want to be a little bit more intentional about that, or in the coming year. And then when it comes to the food stuff, so kind of in that similar vein of like, I don't know if you follow the account, Rowan White. She is an indigenous seed keeper. She works with the I don't want to name the wrong organization, but I believe it's like the Native Food Sovereignty Alliance. Yeah. And she just listening, she was on a podcast, and like just listening to her speak, like really, really, like it was something I meditated on for a very long time. I listened to it maybe about a year ago, a year and a half ago. And she was talking about like seed saving and the relationship to seeds. Like that was the whole, podcast
Mm-hmm.
episode, and the rematriation of seeds. And so for me, it was very big of like, if I'm going to plant food, if I'm going to plant things, I want them to be like indigenous to the area because they'll grow better. They know this soil, they've grown together. So like part of like, you can't tell me not, like part of why we had ears of corn in this shitty, rocky, concretey kind of soil was because it knew it was home. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's literally how I feel, was like they just knew, they recognized, the land. And so I was very intentional about that one. Last year we planted the beans. We planted Seneca pole beans, again because I like was trying to be intentional about planting things that are native to this area. But I ended this year, we ended up planting Muncie wampum beans, which are like from the Lenape, but not necessarily to like Brooklyn, what is now called
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, like not necessarily native to here, but they're similar to pinto beans, which there are a lot of like Latinx families around here. So I figured it was just like more culturally appropriate to plant those. So that's why this year we kind of switched to that. But yeah, definitely try to be like as intentional as possible with like what
Mm-hmm.
varieties, to make sure that like that aspect is honored, like that these seeds are being brought home. And my goal is to like have at least to start with the corn, to start a little seed library,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have enough space to plant the amount of corn that we need to protect the genetic diversity. So want to start that for next year so folks can plant whatever they have, and then we all just kind of like mix it in the pot, keep that beautiful genetic diversity. And actually the corn, I can't even front, it was like a little bit of like selfish reasons why we like
Mm-hmm.
started with it, because like that's like an ancestral food for me. And I was very interested in like rebuilding that connection for myself. And so like I can't even front, like that was my main reasoning for like planting it and like doing that. So next year I think she's gonna have to take a back seat. I'm still gonna grow her because I can't imagine a growing season without her. But I think she's gonna have to take a back seat because it just like the need and the want in the community is not in alignment with that. And so like I'll just have my little section over here. But yeah, that's pretty much how that works.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I was wrapping up.
The fact that you even recognize that, hey, this is what I love, but this isn't what the people need, speaks volumes to what you're doing. That little snippet in and of itself speaks volumes, because so much of what we're accustomed to is, here, take it. This is what's available. This is all you're getting. You know, this idea that we don't have choice, that we don't have autonomy, that we don't make enough of a difference, that what we require should matter. You know, a lot of these, I mean, well, I ain't trying to hurt no feelings, but the way a lot of these situations unfold, going back to what we said about how leadership, car, telling you, this whole car thing, it's what they see.
I love it, though. I love it. We're making it happen.
But the whole discussion about leadership being disconnected from the people they're supposed to lead is a problem. And I feel like as younger generations of leaders come up, we're trying to address it. But then again, that falls back into the, do we work within the system or without the system? And is there a middle ground? Is there a way that we can appease both sides? Like, there's a lot of discussion that has to happen, but we tend to get into this analysis paralysis where it's all discussion and no action. So it really is a cyclical monster that we're trying to break apart right now. It's like the Voltron of bullshit that we're trying to dismember in order to get this thing where it needs to be. So, all of that to say, I appreciate your intention. I appreciate your open-heartedness to your community, and really having an ear, a listening ear and an open heart to say, okay, this may be what I want to do, but what do you guys need? How do I help you? Because we don't get a lot of that, especially as brown folks. You know, the thing they say about crabs, and yeah, we tend to we tend to just steamroll each other. So when you can work.
Ooh, Sheena, I think you're cutting out a little bit. I am definitely going to be stealing that analysis paralysis, though. Seems like she's coming back. There we go.
Okay, well, I'm on here twice. Let me address that.
I don't know if you heard me, but I said I'm definitely stealing that analysis paralysis. That is...
But that's what it is. It's like we want to think out every detail and every possible outcome, and where we can mess up or where we can benefit. And you spend all this time trying to, sometimes you just gotta fucking do it. Just fucking do it and make the mistakes, and whatever comes out of it is what's going to come out of it. And
Yeah.
that's why I can appreciate what you're doing. But even while you're learning, trial by fire, where do you get your resources? Where do you get your knowledge from as far as what you're doing? And okay, we'll leave that as the first part of the question. Go ahead.
Okay, where do I get my knowledge from?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly just like, it's really a community like thing. Like I literally like I've applied to a few like different programs, and like I don't know, for whatever reason it's just not for me. I haven't gotten in. And I mean, I like at times I took it personally, but I'm also like, I mean, I don't know, I feel like not to like brag, but also like, I mean, I think I'm doing pretty good, like growing stuff. So like, I mean, clearly I kind of know what I'm talking about. So I'm, maybe it's just not for me, and like, I'm not gonna fight it. But I read a lot of books. Like I just like generally try to read as much as I can. Listen to like certain podcasts, like certain people on the podcast, like who have this information that I want to learn. Definitely like Leon, like mentors in the community who like have that ancestral knowledge, who can, say this is what you should do, this is when you should plant it, things like that. And then also I have a friend who like actually we started out as Twitter mutuals, and we like have gotten really cool. He lives on the West Coast, but he's like a scientist, like in like biology, and so like does a lot to like help with the more technical aspects of things. So he like gave me advice on the cover crops. That's how I learned about cover crops, because he was like kind of just like very much like pointing me in the right direction, and then I'll do the research from there. And I like figured out which blend would be good. He like taught me how to do the inoculant, and so I did that. And like, so definitely it's like, this is all like not in any way like one person doing anything. This is like just in every definition like a community space, a community garden. Like if I, God forbid something happened to me tomorrow, like this community garden is going to continue, because like it's not like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not the keeper of the keys, like, which is how I want it to be. So definitely like just taking my knowledge from wherever I can really get it, reading, elders, community, experience has been a big teacher.
So, would you have any suggestions for those that are like, you know what? I want to give this shit a shot too.
Yeah, do it. Like honestly, like no, seriously, like a lot of this shit was like me just like being like, again, fuck it. Like I was just like, I'm gonna see what'll grow. I'll see how it grows. There's gonna be death like in your garden. Like the first year that you plant it, make peace with that. I mean, this year, like we had a cucumber beetle infestation. I saw a squash vine borer, like literally, and I'm like all happy because I'm like, oh, we got everything together. And like now that there's so much abundance, all these pests are coming. So now the task is integrated pest management. How do I deal with this, without fertilizers, without or like not fertilizers, without like pesticides and like things like that, because I refuse to use that in the garden. I would like to do much more of like an agroecology kind of thing, where there's an ecosystem that balances itself out. So it's just like the more you do, the more there's going to be to learn. So why not just start learning right now? And like, like you can learn YouTube. I feel like I've learned a lot, watching certain YouTube videos, and like being intentional about like what content it is that you're, reading. Like I'll, probably I don't want to hear this white man talk about regenerative agriculture. It's probably not my speed. But, Soul Fire Farm is a really great resource. They have a lot of stuff on YouTube. They have a lot of really good webinars. They do sliding scale. So it's also, do one here, do one there, whenever you can afford it. I know a lot of us live in paycheck to paycheck, myself included. Things like that, reading books, like just pretty much anything you can get your hands on. There's also like the internet, like is like really, we can talk about how bad it is, but there's also so many good parts to the internet where like really like it has democratized a lot of knowledge. Like I follow certain accounts and like I've learned so much. There's this one Instagram account. I don't know if I can like type it anywhere in a chat, but It's flora.bacha, and like their content like has really like they have a Patreon that I learned so much from. Like so it's really just I feel like and we're all learning from each other at the same time and like I don't know. It's just like mad cool. So I really feel like you can find the information out there. It's just a matter of like, you know, is this something you can dedicate your time to?
Starting where you are is very important. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
dropping that in
much.
the comments. Um, I feel like, and that's a big part of why I do what I do. I gave myself a new title. I don't know if you've seen it. Because I got tired of people be like, well, what do you do? Well, I don't really know what to call it. I am an autonomy advocate, period. I want you to do you the way you do you, and I can help you if you need it. That's it. That's what I'm here for. So, again, she in your brain. I swear, you need to stop smoking.
Relatable.
Because the thought is right there. It's like shit. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. Shit, it really went out the window.
Your role is Madam Facilitator. You are the facilitator of knowledge.
I just get people what they need. That's all I do. I just, who do you need to connect to? Here, I'm going to put it on the table. You pull up a chair and take what you need. That's where I'm at. You know,
that's very big you energy. Because I remember that night that like we really clicked at Soulfire was like when we were doing the future planning workshop. And it was funny because it was like, you were like, I know what I want to do. I have that. It's like, I kind of just need to figure out like, what are my next steps? And I was the complete opposite where I was like, I know what needs to be done next week, but I don't know where I'm trying to go with this. And you asked me like 2 or 3 questions and like in like 10 minutes, I was like, damn, so that's what I'm trying to do. Like, definitely, you're like definitely very gifted with that of like just Madam Facilitator. Like I'm facilitating this space for you. I'm not going to do it for you, but I will facilitate this space for you to find it out on your own, which is just as necessary of a gift and just as necessary of a role, honestly.
I appreciate that. And if you really want to get down to it, I like analogies and visuals. Like I said, I set the table. You know, it's Sunday at Mama's house. I set the table. Y'all feed yourselves. You know, like that's it. That's it. That's all. I'm not trying to, and I like what you said about not trying to be the gatekeeper, about not being, you know, you don't need to run a whole bunch of gardens yourself, but I'm going to give you the keys. I'm going to give you the access. I'm going to share with you what I know and then let you run free to do it yourself. And so much of what we do, and this is a pet peeve of mine, especially as melanated folks, it's like, well, I got mine, so fuck you. What are we doing? Like, that's boggling to me. The fact that you're going to close the door on someone else because you managed to eke through it. If you don't kick that bitch open and put a chair in there so the next person can come past behind you, like, what is the problem? Yeah. And I think it really does roll into that whole capitalist, I got to get mine because, you know, either they're going to come take it from me or I'm never going to have enough. Like this fear of scarcity.
Yes, a mindset of scarcity. And that's what capitalism does is like, and people internalize it, you know what I mean? And like, on top of that, you know, like you said, fear, like adding generational shit onto it. It's like, you know, it's unfortunate. So like, I don't know, for me, I try to be in a space where like I have grace for other people and grace for myself in the things that I've internalized, that they've internalized, that we're trying to unlearn together. But at the same time, not tolerating the bullshit. So like I don't deal very well with people who operate that way. We're gonna bump heads. Like I'm really gonna press you about it, but I can take a step back to not be so harsh on you because at the end of the day I kind of get where that's coming from. So like in a similar way of like poking holes in it, like, you know, the way you ask people questions, like I'll ask questions like, but why do you feel that way? But do you really think that we're going to get there? That is this like the best way, you know, just kind of making people think. That's all you could really do. You know, you could lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. Right. So like at the end of the day, all I can do and all I can control is what I do and how I
Yeah.
move and the space that I'm trying to build. And it's not the most perfect place ever, but I can say I'm proud of the work that all of us have put into it, the way that all of us have tried to make it welcoming and where people feel heard, feel seen. Definitely like my favorite comments are when people are like, oh, it's so wholesome. Like, you know, like I felt so welcomed. Like it wasn't clicky, like it wasn't weird. I'm like, that is like all I want. So like, you know, just trying to find that, you know, navigate that space between like I get it, but also we need to be better.
Right. Right. And that's here. I was getting ready to say the N word again. I didn't say it like 72 times. Um, it's needed. It's required. There we go. Synonyms. But in doing that, I feel like we've come into this space where we're not allowed to critique each other. We're not allowed to critique ourselves. It's like, oh, you're being a hater. Oh, you're XYZ phobic. You're anti. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you the shit ain't right. Like, what's the problem in that? Why can we not speak to each other in constructive manners? I'm not saying bash nobody. That's not my shit. I ain't got time for it. But if I come to you and I'm like, yo, Ari, that tomato, we could do this a little better. And you're like, well, my tomato's been fine for the last 6 years, so fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? That whole that we do this thing to each other,
Yeah.
and it makes it so much harder. It's like we should be working toward a common goal. Why are we keeping each other from succeeding or making it competitive? Like I like to say, for us, as far as 3P, it's not competition, it's community. You know, I don't care if a bunch of us have the same businesses. I don't care if a bunch of us are trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to get us all in the room so that there's enough to go around. Like if there's one person trying to feed everybody, food's running out. But if we got a bunch of everything, everybody's eating,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
I definitely feel that.
one thing that has not been mentioned as of yet is the name of your enterprise. You have yet to say what this fabulous world you've created is called.
Yes, yes. So I don't want to give like specifics on location or anything just because, you know, security reasons.
Yeah.
Because, you know, this is a guerrilla operation.
Mm-hmm.
But the name of it, we actually voted on it earlier this year. We unveiled our sign. She's so beautiful. It is Kwenaukuk Garden. And that word is a Lenape word for plants, which like literally translates in English to they grow tall.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt like it was very fitting because our plants, they grow big and strong. But we voted, like we all, like folks came with their suggestions and everything, and we had a vote. That's what came out, and we have a sign. She's beautiful, looks so official now. But that's our baby.
I'm always looking for the extra behind what's being said. I'm always trying to tune into the heart of things. And in just the name alone and describing what it means, it really does speak to the fact that it's not just plants you're growing. You know, the they that grows tall, yes, it's the plants, but it's everyone involved. It's the community around it. It's that's what's growing, that's what's standing tall. And that is phenomenal just by itself. Like
Yeah,
that's
thank
that's
you. And we want to make sure to acknowledge us as guests on Lenape land,
mm-hmm.
and for
Mm-hmm.
various reasons. Like we actually like we have like an info sheet for that we pass out at events, just like, you know, who are we, why are we doing this kind of thing. Because again, a big part of it is like contextualizing this. You know, we can
Mm-hmm.
grow plants, we can do that, then that's great. But like we also need to contextualize this in a larger story of disinvestment, of food
Mm-hmm.
deserts, environmental racism, like things like that. That's just as important. So on one of our info sheets, we do like mention, we talk about the name because it's important and the fact that it is, you know, a Lenape word to acknowledge that we are guests and our various experiences and stories with colonization have brought us here. You know, as guests, some unwilling, some here because they're fleeing whatever is happening in their own home country. So acknowledging that either way, you know, that we are guests, and it's our job to treat this land with respect as much as we can, and acknowledging the original stewards of this land. So that was like a really big part of that as well, was like wanting to pay that small respect. Again, we're not saving the world, like we're not, you know, but like we're trying to do what we can to be intentional about it.
I need to have a big sis moment with you real quick. Stop stop saying that you're not saving the world. Stop downplaying what you're doing. Stop acting like in the grand scheme it's insignificant. What you're doing is huge. You may not save the entire planet, but you're saving someone's world. You're saving someone's ability. Maybe they might not be able to feed their family that night, but that tomato you handing out on the corner is enough to get them through. I do not want to hear you again say that, yeah, we're not saving the world. You are. And even more so than saving the world, you're creating another one. So take that to heart. Don't play yourself. Like, do not. In whatever way you think of, do not play yourself like that. You're doing so much more than what you're acknowledging. And I know a lot of times those of us that do this sorts of work feel like it's almost arrogant to acknowledge the weight that we're carrying. But it's given to us for those reasons. We're the ones that can carry it. So to say, oh, I'm not, you are. You're doing every bit of it, and you're only in the beginning. So it's only going to be greater. It's only going to reach farther. You're only going to do more. So cut that shit out.
I received that blessing. I received that. Thank you.
So how can people aid what you're doing? Donate. What can they do to give from their heart to help what you're doing?
Definitely, you guys can follow our Instagram. It is G_REBLS, G Rebels, without the extra E. And we have a link tree in there. So there's like to donate for I believe there's a link to also donate to the food distribution that we're a part of, where we're able to contribute a little bit this year. So I'm hoping next year we can contribute more, but that is like kind of separate from the garden, but also very necessary and important work that's happening in the community. We work with 2 other orgs on that. Also donate just straight to us. I believe our like PayPal and like Venmo information is in there. So anything really helps. We pretty much just like whatever we can put into it, or like whatever folks donate is kind of what we operate off of. And we want to do some more things for next year. On a personal level, if you fuck with me, if you fuck with my work, I got bills to pay also. I do have a Patreon. It's in my bio, and my Instagram is plantmommy_Ari. I post like updates on there and everything. I also have a lot of recipes. I have little nature documentaries. I have little highlights on different like plants and things like that. Also get into like politics. I have a few essays on like various political things, so you can like subscribe and figure it out. But yeah, that's how to support me personally. And if you're in New York, if you're in Bushwick, I mean, like hit me up, like pass by the garden. We have folks who come like from like mad deep in Queens and like come to like, you know, pass by the garden, get some produce, get some stuff, like come spend time with the land. So those are the ways you guys can like directly support. And I know me and Madam Facilitator also have something in the works potentially for a class. We're trying to finesse it a little bit on how to really get the wording right, but I'm trying to essentially tell the story of colonization through the lens of corn. How that has mirrored what has happened to Indigenous people as a whole. what is happening to corn and what has happened to corn. So I'll leave that with you guys.
Um, Yet again, I'm in my car. I don't have access to my keyboard. So if you or anyone can drop that in the comments section so that people do have that information, because it is a wealth of knowledge that needs to be accessed. And I know, we are living check to check, some of us, most of us, all of us, however you choose to word it. But when these opportunities to be part of something greater happen, when these opportunities to really come together as a community and aid each other and promote each other and lift each other up happen, your nails can wait. That coffee can wait. Throw some coins to the people that are doing the work. And this one right here is doing the work. So please, I can't type. I'm on my phone in the
Yeah, it's like
car.
not letting me do, like I can't add the comments. I can see the comments, hey, but I can't like write anything.
Oh,
So I'm sorry
okay.
guys.
So what I'll do,
I can post it
set,
like in the comments on the post.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? I'll even steal that and make that a whole post by itself and put all your links, all your stuff, just so people can see it, because it needs to be seen, and you need to get what you need.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Love you. I'm so glad to see you again. Are
I
you coming
love
back
you
to whenever
too.
you come back to Jersey, we have to link. Let's go.
Yeah, my flight is tonight, so
Oh.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Don't it's been some shenanigans. However, I'm very, very glad that we were able to make this happen, even, working on unideal, circumstances. We do what we do, which is essentially what we do anyway. So why would anything less be expected? I thank you. I thank you for coming on. I thank you for the people that have watched, continue to watch. You can catch it on the YouTube channel. There will be constantly replays available. Or we could talk about, if you want to use it. I don't care. Get your name out there. This is for your press kit. I want to see your face everywhere. So thank you for joining me on Couch Conversations, and I will talk to y'all later.
Thank you. Love you. Have a safe
Love you
flight.
too. You too. Bye.